Have you ever noticed that when people begin to age, they don't lose strength evenly across the body? They don't usually say, "My arms gave out first," or "My hands stopped working." What they say is, "My legs feel weak. I feel unstable. I don't trust my balance anymore." And here's the surprising truth most people don't realize. Your legs weaken first, long before the rest of your body shows visible signs of aging. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your leg muscles are the largest metabolic tissue you have. They regulate blood sugar, support circulation back to the heart, stabilize hormones, and act as shock absorbers for your joints and nervous system. When leg strength declines, it's not just a mobility issue. It's a metabolic warning sign. Research shows that loss of leg strength strongly predicts increased risk of falls, faster cognitive decline, insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, shortened lifespan. In fact, grip strength and leg strength are now considered biomarkers of longevity. Yet most people are told the same oversimplified advice: just exercise more. But here's the problem. Many people over 50 or 60 are already trying to walk more, stretch more, or do light exercise, and their legs still feel weak, heavy, or unresponsive. That's because movement alone does not rebuild muscle. If the metabolic environment is broken, muscle is not lost simply because you're aging. Muscle is lost because blood flow to muscle declines. Mitochondria stop producing energy efficiently. Inflammation blocks muscle repair. Insulin can no longer deliver nutrients properly. Protein signaling pathways become resistant. So the real question isn't, how do I move more? The real question is, how do I turn muscle repair back on? And this is where food becomes powerful medicine. Not calories, not protein shakes, but specific foods that activate circulation, reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and reawaken muscle building signals, especially in the legs. Today we're going to talk about 6 foods that do exactly that. These foods don't just feed your muscles, they send instructions to your body, telling it to restore strength, stability, and endurance from the ground up. We'll break down why legs are the first to weaken, the hidden metabolic reasons strength disappears, how food influences muscle signaling, not just calories, and the exact foods. The brain-muscle connection nobody explains that research shows can support leg strength naturally. This is not about bodybuilding. This is about staying independent, confident, and mobile for decades longer. If this topic matters to you or someone you care about, you're in the right place. Let's start by outlining the 6 science-backed insights we'll cover so you know exactly where we're going. Here's what's really going on inside your body when leg strength starts to fade. And most people completely miss this. The legs are the farthest muscles from the heart, which means they rely more than any other muscle group on healthy blood flow, oxygen delivery, and microirculation. When those systems begin to decline, even slightly, your legs feel it first. Not your arms, not your shoulders, your legs. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your circulatory system like a garden irrigation network. The plants closest to the water source get plenty of flow, but the plants at the far end of the hose, they're the first to wilt if pressure drops. Your legs are at the end of the hose. As we age, blood vessels naturally stiffen. Nitric oxide production declines. The tiny capillaries that feed muscle fibers become less responsive. And the result is subtle at first. Slower walking, heavier legs, reduced balance. But over time, this becomes muscle loss and weakness. What the research shows is that improving blood flow can directly preserve and even rebuild leg strength independent of exercise alone. And this brings us to the first food that matters deeply for leg strength: nitrate-rich plants, especially beets and leafy greens. Here's why they're so powerful. Natural nitrates in foods like beets, arugula, spinach, and celery are converted in your body into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule that tells blood vessels to relax and widen. Wider vessels mean more oxygen, more nutrients, and better waste removal from muscle tissue. This is not a supplement trick. This is basic human physiology. Studies show that improved nitric oxide availability enhances muscle oxygenation, endurance, and even neuromuscular efficiency. In practical terms, that means your leg muscles fire more smoothly and fatigue less quickly. And here's something especially important. Nitric oxide also supports angiogenesis, the growth of healthy, functional micro blood vessels. That's critical for aging legs because muscle fibers can't repair or grow if they're undersupplied. Now let's make this actionable. A simple daily protocol looks like this. Add a small serving of beets or leafy greens earlier in the day, ideally before movement or walking. Pair them with a source of vitamin C like lemon juice, which stabilizes nitric oxide. Avoid washing them down with antibacterial mouthwash, which disrupts nitrate conversion in the mouth. That last point is fascinating. The conversion of nitrates to nitric oxide starts in the oral microbiome. Overuse of harsh mouthwash can literally block this pathway. Now here's the insulin resistance and muscle loss mistake I see often. People think leg weakness means they need more protein or heavier weights, and those can help. But without restoring circulation, the muscle can't respond properly. Blood flow is the delivery system. No delivery, no repair. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post science-based strategies like this every day to help you stay strong and independent as you age. One more important point. Poor circulation doesn't just weaken muscles, it also affects nerve signaling. Nerves require oxygen and glucose delivery just like muscle fibers do. Improving blood flow improves coordination, balance, and reaction time, which is why people often feel more stable within weeks of improving vascular health. So remember this key takeaway. Strong legs require strong circulation, and circulation is something you can influence daily, starting with what you eat. In the next section, we'll move from blood flow to something just as critical. How insulin resistance silently blocks muscle repair in the legs, even in people who don't have diabetes. Here's what's really going on inside your body when leg muscles stop responding the way they used to. Even if you're eating enough protein and staying active. The issue is often not muscle loss first, it's metabolic resistance. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your leg muscles are like a construction site, and nutrients are the building materials. Insulin is the key that opens the gate so those materials can get inside. When insulin works well, amino acids, glucose, and minerals flow into muscle cells and repair happens smoothly. But when insulin resistance develops, even mildly, the gate doesn't open properly. The materials are there, but they can't get where they need to go. And here's the critical point. The largest muscles in your body, your legs, are the most insulin-sensitive tissues you have. When insulin resistance begins, your legs are often the first place it shows up functionally. What the research shows is that insulin resistance reduces muscle protein synthesis, impairs mitochondrial energy production, and accelerates muscle fiber atrophy, especially in the thighs and glutes. This is why people say things like, "I'm eating enough protein, but my legs are still getting weaker. I walk every day, but I feel slower and heavier." The metabolism inside the muscle is blocked. Here's where food becomes medicine. One of the most powerful ways to restore insulin sensitivity in leg muscle is through polyphenol-rich foods, especially berries. Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, and raspberries contain compounds like anthocyanins that directly improve insulin signaling inside muscle cells. These compounds activate pathways that increase GLUT transporters, which are responsible for pulling glucose into muscle tissue without needing as much insulin. In other words, berries make your muscle cells more responsive again. Studies show that regular berry consumption improves muscle glucose uptake, reduces inflammation, and enhances mitochondrial function. The tiny energy factories inside your leg muscles that determine endurance and strength. And here's something most people don't realize. Insulin resistance, blood flow, oxygen, and weak legs also blocks amino acid uptake into muscle. That means even if you're consuming enough protein, your legs may not be able to use it effectively. Improving insulin sensitivity restores that pathway. Now let's turn this into a simple, realistic protocol. Consume a small serving of berries daily, ideally with or after a meal that contains protein. Frozen berries work just as well, sometimes better, because polyphenols are preserved. Avoid pairing berries with ultra-processed sugars, which cancel out the benefit. A great example, Greek yogurt with blueberries or a protein-rich breakfast with a side of berries. Here's the mistake to avoid. Many people dramatically cut carbohydrates, thinking it will help muscle health. but targeted low glycemic carbohydrates like berries actually improve muscle metabolism, especially in the legs. This isn't about sugar overload, it's about signaling. If this is making sense so far, take a moment to like the video. It helps more people find science-based strategies like this. Now let's connect insulin resistance to something even deeper. Chronically, elevated insulin doesn't just block nutrient delivery, it increases muscle inflammation. Inflammatory signals tell the body, this tissue is not safe to rebuild. Over time, the body prioritizes fat storage over muscle repair. By improving insulin sensitivity, you flip that signal. You shift from storage mode back into repair and regeneration mode. And this is especially important for the legs because leg muscles are essential for balance, fall prevention, glucose disposal, longevity. In fact, leg strength is one of the strongest predictors of lifespan in multiple population studies. So here's the key takeaway from this section. Weak legs are often a sign of metabolic resistance, not aging alone. And insulin sensitivity is something you can restore, starting with what you eat. In the next section, we'll talk about another silent contributor to leg weakness that almost no one addresses: chronic inflammation, and how specific fats can either destroy or rebuild muscle tissue. Here's what's really going on when inflammation quietly erodes this leg strength. Even if you're exercising and stretching regularly, inflammation is not just joint pain or soreness. It's a biological signal that changes how your muscles behave. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your leg muscles like a high-performance engine. Inflammation is like sand in the oil. The engine may still run, but efficiency drops, friction increases, and wear accelerates over time. Now here's the key insight most people miss. Chronic, low-grade inflammation selectively weakens fast-twitch muscle fibers, the very fibers responsible for power balance and preventing falls. These fibers are heavily concentrated in the legs. What the research shows is that inflammatory molecules like TNF-alpha and IL-6, when chronically elevated, interfere with muscle repair and suppress satellite cells, the stem cells that regenerate muscle tissue. So even if you're walking daily or eating protein, your body may be blocking the rebuild process. Now here's where food becomes a lever. One of the most food number one, muscle repair and protein signaling powerful anti-inflammatory foods for leg strength is extra virgin olive oil. Not all fats act the same in the body. Some fats inflame muscle tissue, others actively heal it. Extra virgin olive oil contains a compound called ulocanthal, which has anti-inflammatory effects similar to low doses ibuprofen without the side effects. Ulocanthal inhibits the same inflammatory enzymes that damage muscle fibers over time. What's fascinating is that studies from Mediterranean populations consistently show better leg strength, mobility, and walking speed in people who consume olive oil daily, even into old age. And this isn't about calories, it's about cellular signaling. Olive oil sends a message to your muscle tissue. It's safe to repair. It's safe to rebuild. Now let's turn this into a simple, actionable protocol. Use 1-2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil daily. Consume it raw or gently warmed. Heat destroys polyphenols. Drizzle it over vegetables, legumes, eggs, or protein. Look for peppery taste. That burn indicates oleoanthal. Here's the mistake to avoid. Many people switch to seed oils thinking they're heart-healthy, but industrial seed oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which drive inflammation when consumed excessively. That inflammation shows up first in large muscle groups, especially the legs. Now let's connect inflammation to aging. As we age, the immune system becomes less precise. This phenomenon is called inflammaging. Chronic background inflammation that slowly degrades tissue quality. Muscle becomes less responsive, less regenerative, and more fragile. By reducing inflammation at the root, you're not just preserving muscle, you're restoring muscle intelligence. If this insight is helpful, consider subscribing. I share science-based strategies like this every day to help you age stronger, not slower. Now, here's something even more interesting. Inflammation doesn't just weaken muscle, it disrupts blood flow. Inflammatory signals stiffen blood vessels, reducing oxygen and nutrient delivery to the legs. That's why many people feel heaviness, fatigue, or burning in their calves or thighs. By calming inflammation, olive oil improves endothelial function, the lining of your blood vessels, allowing better circulation and faster recovery. So here's the key takeaway from this section. Leg weakness is often an inflammatory problem before it's a strength problem, and the right fats can either accelerate decline or reverse it. In the next section, we'll explore a mineral deficiency that silently drains leg power and balance, even in people who eat healthy diets, and the specific food that restores it naturally. Here's what's really going on when your legs feel weak, shaky, or tire faster than they used to, even if you're eating well and staying active. In many cases, the problem isn't muscle size. It's food number 2, nerve strength and omega-3's electrical signaling. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Your muscles don't move on their own. They respond to electrical signals coming from nerves. Think of your nervous system as the wiring in a building, and your muscles as the lights. If the wiring is faulty, the lights flicker, no matter how new the bulbs are. That flickering is exactly what happens in the legs when the body runs low on magnesium. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Magnesium is a coactor in over 300 enzymatic reactions, but one of its most critical roles is regulating muscle contraction and relaxation. Calcium tells a muscle to contract. Magnesium tells it to relax. Without enough magnesium, muscles stay partially contracted, fatigue faster, and lose coordination. And the legs suffer first. Why? Because leg muscles are large, highly active, and constantly counteracting gravity. They demand more magnesium than smaller muscle groups. What the research shows is that magnesium deficiency is extremely common, especially in older adults due to soil depletion, medication use, chronic stress, and insulin resistance. Even blood tests often miss it because less than 1% of magnesium is found in the blood. Most of it lives inside cells. So you can be normal on labs and still functionally deficient. Now here's where this becomes critical for aging. Low magnesium impairs neuromuscular junctions, the connection points between nerves and muscle fibers. When these junctions weaken, balance declines, reaction time slows, and the risk of falls increases dramatically. This isn't about weakness alone, it's about loss of control. Now let's talk about the food that restores this system naturally. One of the most powerful magnesium-rich foods for leg strength is pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are not just a snack, they're a neurological support food. A single ounce provides roughly 40% of daily magnesium needs, along with zinc and plant-based protein, all of which support muscle repair and nerve function. But here's the key. Magnesium from whole foods behaves differently than isolated supplements. Food-based magnesium is absorbed more slowly, used more efficiently, and less likely to cause digestive issues. Here's a simple protocol you can actually stick to. Consume 1 to 2 tablespoons of pumpkin seeds daily. Best time? Afternoon or evening to support muscle relaxation. Combine with healthy fats for better absorption. Chew thoroughly. Digestion starts in the mouth. Here's another overlooked benefit. Magnesium improves insulin sensitivity. And when insulin works better, glucose enters muscle cells more efficiently. That means more fuel for movement, faster recovery, and less muscle breakdown. This is especially important for the legs, which act as the body's largest food number 3, mitochondria and energy production glucose reservoir. Now let's address a common mistake. Many people rely solely on calcium for bone and muscle health, but calcium without magnesium is like pressing the gas pedal without a brake. Over time, this imbalance worsens muscle stiffness, cramps, and weakness. The goal is balance. If this is making sense so far, take a moment to like the video. It helps get this information to others who need it. Here's the key takeaway from this section. Leg weakness is often a nerve problem disguised as a muscle problem, and magnesium is one of the fastest ways to restore the signal. In the next section, we'll uncover a protein-rich food that directly stimulates muscle regeneration in aging legs without increasing inflammation or insulin spikes. Here's something most people are never told about aging legs. Muscle loss doesn't begin with weakness. It begins with poor protein signaling. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine trying to rebuild a house, but the construction crew never gets the message that new materials have arrived. The supplies are there, but nothing gets built. That's exactly what happens in aging muscle. As we get older, the body becomes less responsive to protein. This is called anabolic resistance. You can eat protein, but the muscle doesn't fully hear the signal to repair and rebuild. And the legs again are hit first. Why? Because leg muscles contain a high proportion of fast-twitch fibers, which are the most sensitive to age-related decline. These fibers are responsible for power, balance, climbing stairs, and preventing falls. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Muscle growth and repair are controlled by a pathway called mTOR. When activated properly, mTOR tells muscle cells to synthesize new protein. But aging, insulin resistance, inflammation, and low-quality protein blunt this signal. What the research shows is that one specific amino acid, leucine, acts like a master switch for mTOR activation. Without enough leucine, muscle repair slows down dramatically, no matter how much protein you eat. Now here's the important part. Not all protein sources deliver leucine efficiently, especially in older adults. One of the most effective, low-inflammatory, insulin-friendly sources of leucine is eggs. Whole eggs. Eggs contain one of the highest natural concentrations of leucine per calorie, along with vitamin D, choline, B12, and selenium. All of food number 4, minerals that prevent falls, which support neuromuscular coordination and mitochondrial energy in the legs. And the yolk matters. The yolk contains phospholipids that improve amino acid absorption and help shuttle nutrients into muscle cells. Now let's talk timing, because this is where people get it wrong. Protein timing matters more with age. Here's a simple, evidence-based protocol. 2 whole eggs in the morning, ideally within 6,090 minutes of waking, combined with resistance or walking later in the day. Avoid pairing with refined carbohydrates. Why morning? Because cortisol is naturally higher earlier in the day, which helps mobilize amino acids and primes muscle tissue for repair. Morning protein intake improves nitrogen balance and preserves lean mass, especially in the legs. Here's another overlooked benefit. Eggs support mitochondrial density. Leg muscles are endurance machines. They rely heavily on mitochondria, the energy factories inside cells. Nutrients in eggs help maintain mitochondrial membranes, improving stamina and reducing fatigue. Now, let's clear up a common myth. People worry that eggs raise cholesterol. But what the science actually shows is that dietary cholesterol has minimal impact on blood cholesterol for most people. In fact, eggs often raise HDL, the protective cholesterol, which improves blood flow to working muscles. Better circulation means better oxygen delivery to the legs. This isn't about bodybuilding, this is about maintaining independence. If this is helpful, consider subscribing. I share science-backed strategies like this every day to help you stay strong as you age. Here's the key takeaway from this section. Aging legs don't just need more protein, they need the right signal. And eggs deliver that signal efficiently. In the next section, we'll talk about a food that improves circulation to the legs, supports nitric oxide production, and helps muscles recover faster after activity. Let's move from muscle signaling to something just as critical for leg strength: circulation. Because even the strongest muscle can't function if it's underfueled. Here's what's really going on inside your body. As we age, blood vessels naturally become less flexible. Endothelial cells, the lining of your arteries, produce less nitric oxide, a molecule that tells blood vessels to relax and widen. When nitric oxide drops, blood flow to the legs declines first. Why the legs? Because they're farthest from the heart and work. Food number 5, inflammation control against gravity.